Hey everybody, real quick, if you need a recap of the Sandman Season 1, I've got you covered. Just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner, and it'll take you right to it. Now, Season 2 picks up with Morpheus trying to rebuild his dream kingdom. That's when he receives a message from his older brother, Destiny, telling him that all the siblings are uniting. He's got something important to tell them. And Destiny was able to bring all of the siblings together. You've got Desire. She was pulled from an art gallery. You've got Despair. She was looking at a child predator. You've got Death. We don't know for a fact, but you assume Death was pulled from doing death things. And then you've even got Delirium. She shows up. There's only one person missing, though, and they all notice it. It's their brother. And he was the only one who wasn't called by Destiny because he asked to be left alone, and Destiny respected those wishes. And everybody misses him. So much so that they won't even say his name, and they cover up his picture. But this is their new norm. A family meeting no longer features 7, it features 6. And 5 of those 6 are wondering why the hell this meeting was called in the first place, and that is when Destiny lets them know that he received a message from the 3 sisters, the Fates. They were pretty cagey about the reason they were there, but they told him to look in his book and that a king would forsake his kingdom. Life and death would clash and fray, and the oldest battle would begin once more. When he looked in the book, it said that an event would happen, and it would spurn on a series of events that would bring on change and upheaval, but he doesn't know what the event is. All he knows is that the event starts when the family meets. So his message to all of them is, yeah, eat up, drink up, something's going to happen. I don't really know what it is, though. And all of them are pretty confused, but Morpheus is pissed because he's got a kingdom to rebuild, and he can't believe that his brother wasted his time. He goes to leave, but Destiny tells him, no, you're not leaving yet. And it's really Death who convinces him that he does have time because they haven't met in a while. It's good to catch up. But that's when he and Desire start going back at it, squabbling, bickering amongst the two. Despair tells both of them to knock it off. And then Delirium mentions how they never fought when he, the missing piece, was there. And Desire laughs and says, yeah, we did, but he always made us feel better about it. He would joke around. They then start discussing whether or not they should actually reach out to the missing family member, but this just results in more arguing. Until Morpheus looks at Destiny and says, is this what you meant by we should just talk? I mean, what do we really have to discuss? Look what's happening. So Desire says, okay, well, let's talk about you. How's your love life? I mean, have you sentenced any other ones to hell? And that is a shot below the belt to Morpheus. It seems like it's a secret that not many people know, but Desire decides to tell the tale how the Dream King fell in love with a mortal, and how he repaid that mortal is by banishing her to hell for all of eternity. Morpheus gets so angry that he has to walk away. And Death follows him to make sure he's okay, but also to get the lowdown on what the hell Desire was talking about. So Morpheus tells her the tale. Dream fell in love with Queen Nada, who was the first queen of the first people. He fell in love with her through her dreams, through somebody else. Every night, he was visiting Nada, using this avatar until one day he showed himself to Nada in the town. They talked briefly, but she was clearly smitten, and every day she looked for this mysterious guy from her dreams, but she couldn't find him until finally one day she visited Morpheus in the dream world and asked for his help. And that's when he revealed himself as the actual guy. They fell in love. They hooked up. But when they did that, embers left the dream world, becoming a meteorite, which crashed into the first people, killing everybody. And Queen Nada was distraught. She had plans on marrying Morpheus, but not after that. She blamed herself, knowing that her actions in the dream world caused this. And she told Morpheus, if this relationship continues, then more death and destruction and bad things are going to happen for both of our realms. Now, he didn't want to lose her, but she was adamant that they could not be together. She needed to punish herself. And he gave her an ultimatum. Okay, fine, punish yourself, or come with me and let's get married. But she chose the latter. She chose to respect what she did to her people, and thus she needed to answer for her actions. So angry at her decision, that's when Morpheus said, okay, if you want to answer for your actions, then you'll do so in hell. And he banished her to hell. And after hearing the story, Death tells him, you didn't really have to do that, you know? I mean, out of everybody here, you know what it's like to be in prison. You were in prison for 100 years. Nada's been in prison for 10,000. And she loved you, but she made the same decision that you would have made. She chose her people over love. But you were so mad that you made a brash decision. And the way that Morpheus takes that is, oh, okay, well then I need to go to hell. You're right. Like, I need to get Nada back. And that's not necessarily what Death meant. Death meant more of like, reflect on your actions next time, think before you act. But no, Morpheus is dead set. You were correct. I need to go save Nada from the depths of hell. He tells Death to tell the other siblings, hey, good seeing you, but I got to run. And he heads back to his kingdom. He meets with Lucienne, Merv, and Matthew, and he explains to all three of them, look, I know I just got back. I know I just started rebuilding this place, but I have to go again. Because a while ago, I banished a mortal to hell, and I'm now realizing that that was a mistake, and I need to atone for that. While I'm gone, Lucienne is in charge. But Lucienne isn't happy about this. None of them are. They don't want to see Morpheus go back to hell. And at one point, all three of them try to talk him out of it, but there is no talking him out of it. He's headed there. And Matthew, at the very least, wants to come with. But he says, no, I need you here helping out Lucienne. And Lucienne is very concerned. She starts asking him what happens if you get captured. But he tells her, I'm making preparations before I leave to make sure that what happened last time doesn't happen this time. And one of those preparations is to go visit Lita and the baby. The baby's doing great. Dream is just standing over the crib watching him, but when Lita walks in, she is shook, and she tells him, you got to get out of here. But he reminds her, this is my baby. This baby was born in my kingdom. And when she asks him, why won't you just leave us alone? He tells her, the baby is a part of my realm. He starts talking about the impending journey he has and how he might be gone for a while, but he realizes that this is going way over her head, so he just says, I came to see the boy, and I'll see myself out. The next stop he has is to go visit Hob in his dreams. And he tells him, hey, the next time we're supposed to meet, I might not be there because I'm going on a journey. Hob is pretty terrified about what the idea of a long time is to Dream, but he asks him for reassurances that Dream will return, and Dream doesn't give it. He just says, hey, drink the wine that I brought you. He then leaves Hob, and in the real world, Hob wakes up from his dream, but the bottle of wine that they were sipping in that dream, that was real. Dream left it for him. Morpheus feels like he's procrastinated long enough, and he grabs his helmet and he's ready to head out. But you've got Lucienne and Matthew and Merv. They're worried about the fact that he's doing this without a real plan. He assures them that he has a plan. And that's when Abel rushes in and says, hey, we're looking for Cain. Has anyone seen him? And Dream actually sent Cain to hell to deliver a message to Lucifer saying, Morpheus is stopping by. It'd be really cool if he could meet with you and just smooth things over a little bit. He's got some business to attend to here. But after their last meeting, Lucifer doesn't really take kindly to that. And she sends Cain back to the dream world, but she does so in a kind of unfriendly manner. He just drops in. He tells Morpheus, they're waiting for you, sir. I'm talking a full army of demons. Millions of them, and they want you to come. Cain tells him that he can't go. And Lucienne does the same thing. Pretty much everybody in the room tells him, don't go, but we all know what he does. He goes. Before he leaves, he tells everybody that the dreaming will survive, even if he does not. And then, using his sand, he arrives in hell, helmet and all. But the fact that he is going to hell, that was the big event that was supposed to happen at the family gathering. That was what Destiny was waiting for. So when Death came back in and told all of her siblings, hey, he headed home. He's going to hell. He's ready to save some girl. Destiny closed the book and said, yep, that's what we were waiting for. In episode 2, shortly after the Dream King arrives in hell, he realizes that something is not quite right. It is way too quiet. He was really expecting them to put up a fight. After all, he was warned as such. But when he goes to the gates of hell, it is literally open for him. He just walks right through, and still he sees nobody. Eventually, he does come across a very calm Lucifer. And he gets right to the point, asking where Nada is, where she's keeping her, where she's hiding her. But Lucifer just tells him, take off the helmet and we'll talk. Okay, I give you my word. While we're in the bowels of hell, I will do nothing to harm you. After taking off the helmet, he once again asks, where's Nada? And she says, I sent her away. I sent everybody away. I mean, the demons, Nada, you name it. If they were here, they're gone. And that's because, as she reveals to Dream, she's quit. She's over it. She's done this for 10,000 years and she's just sick of it. So essentially, she is retiring. She reveals to him that it's all because of him. Because when she found out that he was coming, she figured, well, if Dream can leave his realm, I mean, why can't I? And he looks at her bewildered and says, you're hell's ruler. You have a responsibility. But not anymore. Marquine interrupts the conversation because she wants to go wherever Lucifer is going, but Lucifer tells her no. Wherever I'm going solo. And after taking her knife, she tells her to do the same. Leave. This leaves Dream and Lucifer once again to discuss the situation where Dream tries to convince Lucifer that she has a duty, and Lucifer is pretty clearly fed up with working and getting nothing in return. She announces that hell is closed, and then her and Dream step out so she can lock the last door. She does, however, need Morpheus to do one thing for her. Cut off her wings. Because as she tells him, I'm tired of fighting. Morpheus obliges, and now standing in front of him is no longer the morning star, it's just a person. A wingless angel. Lucifer stands up, she thanks Morpheus, but he once again asks, where is Nada? And as Lucifer is looking off in the distance, she tells him, she's out there somewhere. You'll find her. She then switches the subject to promises she made, one of them being that she would destroy Dream, the other being that she would do him no harm in the bowels of hell, but now they're outside of hell. And because of that, she can give him the key. Because now she is entrusting hell to Morpheus, and there's nothing he can do about it. The key is now in his possession, and he is now the ruler of hell. Lucifer then goes off, and Morpheus has to go back to his kingdom, where he is very, very annoyed upon arrival. The first thing he does is tell Lucienne what happened about being given the key to hell and what exactly they're going to do. The reason this is a problem is soon every deity is going to be at their door, armed, looking to get the key to hell so that they can rule it. And he knows this. He needs to figure out what exactly he's going to do with the key to hell and who to give it to. And the person he usually goes to for advice is his sister, Death. So that's the next person he talks to about the situation. And Death's already heard about the whole him getting the key to hell thing. That news spread pretty quickly. And her advice to him is that Nada is going to have to wait because hell is empty and everybody that was in hell is now in the waking world trying to turn the waking world into hell. So he's going to have to figure this thing out. The way she sees it, he's got two choices. Either he rules hell or he just gives it to somebody else. And the person he initially decides to give it to is Death. Because after all, she gives great advice. But Death goes, no, I can't do that. I have my own kingdom to worry about. I've got, Death to worry about. And even though Morpheus tries to say, hey, we'll split responsibilities, she's still not interested in it at all. She wishes him all the best, but this is going to be a decision he has to make. And it turns out Morpheus was right, because as soon as he's done talking to his sister, he finds out that all those deities are, in fact, at his door. They're pissed off. They want the key to hell. But instead of keeping them out, what he decides to do is invite them inside. He feels like they're less dangerous if they are guests in his kingdom. He can easily control them, and then he'll be able to figure out exactly who he wants to give the key to. And there are a lot of potential suitors. You've got Odin, Thor, and Loki, looking a little bit different than what we're accustomed to, I must say. They check in with Lucienne. Next, you've got Lord Kildekin's men. They're dressed up like concierges, and the head of them has a box that appears to be empty, when Lucienne looks at it at least. But it's not. And the way they're treating it is as if Lord Kilderkin is with them. And maybe he is, because he gives Lucienne a note. I mean, she looks in the box one minute, it's empty. The next minute she looks in, there's a card in there. And the note simply says that he also wants to discuss getting the key to hell. The next people to check in with Lucienne is Shivering Jemmy of the Shallow Brigade. She dubs herself a Princess of Chaos, and she's dressed up like a clown. Think Pennywise, but little girl form. Next up, you've got a guy who's just flying solo. His name is Susano o no Mokito. He's the god of the sea and the storms, and he's the most polite. He apologizes for showing up uninterrupted, but he does in fact want to talk about getting the key to hell. While Susano was the most polite, Lord Azazel is the rudest. He's the prince of hell and the commander of what was Lucifer's army, and because of the fact that he is the prince of hell, he feels like he is the rightful heir to the throne, and he really should be ruling hell, and the fact that he had to come all the way to the dream world, he's annoyed by it, clearly. Immediately, he demands to meet with Morpheus, and he even goes so far as to try and bully Lucienne, using his powers to torment her and intimidate her. And it does work, but Morpheus steps out and he puts a stop to it right away. He announces to not just Lord Azazel, but everybody that they are going to have a great banquet, and he will decide who exactly is going to get the key to hell. Right before the banquet starts, though, a group arrives late. It's a guy named Chloricon and his sister, Lady Nuala. They were sent as ambassadors from the court of Fairy, and they seem a little bougie. They do, however, have an issue, and they're the first ones to really get an audience with Morpheus. They tell him that by ancient compact, Fairy must pay 9 of their citizens to hell every 7 years. Nuala tells them that she understands everybody in the banquet is jockeying to get the rights to hell. She's actually there to beg him to give none of it to them. And that's because it would be to the benefit of Fairy if hell were to remain empty. He tells them that he'll think about it, but he has to listen to everybody and listen to their pitch, and he instructs them to go and eat at the banquet. He then joins Lucienne in the balcony to watch the people at the banquet. He feels like if he's there, they're going to be on their best behavior, but he'll be able to get an accurate reading of who these people are. But as he's looking down, Loki notices him from the balcony, and Loki gets the sense that Morpheus isn't too keen on him. And it's true, Morpheus views Loki as somebody that should be confined, not running a kingdom. He also doesn't plan on giving it to Lord Azazel or the demons. But then he has to go break up a fight because Thor started hitting on one of the demons. She didn't really take too kindly to it. She's kind of like a half spider woman. And right before the fight really got interesting, Dream headed down and basically told them, if you're fighting in here, you're essentially fighting me. I don't take kindly to it, so sit down and enjoy the banquet. They then, however, get 2 more guests, 2 angels, Remiel and Duma. Duma doesn't talk. He's the angel of silence. But they were sent by God because God wants to know exactly what Dream is going to do with the key to hell. So they're really there just to observe and report back. As Morpheus continues to ponder this dilemma that he has found himself in, Cain actually entertains the crowd with a bit of a magic show. That's when he gets his first bribe. It's from the Kilderkin order. But it's not all that good. Essentially, it's the essence of Dream from the newly dead people. Kilderkin is going to give it to Dream in order to get the key to hell, but Dream says, if I wanted this, I would have taken it myself. Like, really? This is your attempt? Get lost. The next person up, though, to bribe him is Jemmy. But she makes it clear. I'm not offering you anything. I'm threatening you. And then she goes from being a little girl to a demon grandma. And this demon grandma tells him, give us the hell to Lucifer or the entire host of chaos will be at your throat until the end of time. But Dream isn't really intimidated by that at all. The next up is the storm god, Susano. He tells him that when he was younger, he was angry and he hurt people. He hurt people that were close to him, i.e. his family. So in turn, his dad banished him to the underworld. But what he realized down there was that, yes, while it's a place of death, it's also a place of roots that can grow. And what he thought was his death ended up being his rebirth. So he wants to do the same to Lucifer's hell. And so far, this is the most noble pitch that Dream has heard yet. But next up is Odin, and he gets right back to the bribing. And his bribe is, I think I know where your missing brother is, which is very enticing to Dream. He does ask Odin, why do you want hell? And Odin tells him, to stave off Ragnarok, the end of all things for my people. The Aesir live in Asgard. The giants live in Jotunheim. The Dark Elves lives in it's a word I can't say, all right, because I'm not Norse. But he tells Dream that essentially there's a bunch of people fighting over territory because there's nowhere else to go. They're overrun, and hell would be a place where he could expand. At this point, he has heard from everybody that he wants to hear from. So right after the show wraps up, he gets on stage and he tells everybody, I'll announce my decision tomorrow. But there's one person he hasn't actually heard from, and that's because he didn't want to hear from him. It's Lord Azazel. And Lord Azazel had an idea that this would probably be the case, so he needed an upper hand. And initially, when he does end up meeting with Dream, his offering to Dream is Lord Corazon, the guy who challenged him in hell. This is an offering for Dream to take vengeance upon him, but Dream says, well, what if I don't want him? Because Dream doesn't want him. What the hell is Dream going to do with him? So that's when Azazel, who at this point has turned into a demon, says, I've got one other thing. It's not much, but there was somebody who was sent to hell like 10,000 years ago. You might have interest in her. And it's Nada. Lord Azazel tells him, if you give me the key, I will release her. But if you don't, I'm going to take a lot of pleasure in consuming her soul. He asks Morpheus if he understands him, and Morpheus says, yeah, I do. And Azazel tells him, well, I guess then we have a deal. Episode 3 picks up with Lord Azazel's offer to Dream. He feels like there's no way that Dream says no to it, but Dream actually does. He doesn't necessarily come right out and say, no, I'm not accepting it. He just tells Azazel, I'll give you my decision tomorrow with everybody else. He's not about to be bullied by this guy. That night, though, the decision of Morpheus is weighing on a lot of people, and one of those people is Lady Nuala, who can't sleep that night. She heads out to get some air, and she runs into Dream, and they start talking about the fact that Lady Nuala actually met Dream years ago. I'm talking 1500s. She was informally introduced to him. He invited Queen Titania and King Oberon and a few others from Fairy to see a performance that was written by William Shakespeare. Dream had commissioned Shakespeare to write a play on the king and the queen so that their names and the legacy of Fairy would live on forever in the mortal world. And this did a lot for the relationship between both worlds, and Lady Nuala never forgot it. Dream used to visit Fairy quite a bit. He had a really good relationship with the king and especially the queen, but something happened. They had a falling out. He hasn't been there in a while, and that's one of the reasons why he and Nuala never really got a formal introduction. But when she heads off to her bed, Dream does say to her, it's nice to finally officially meet you. The next day, everybody wakes up and they get ready for Dream's decision. He goes through the list. He understands that the demons and the Dan must have a home. It's something that he and Lucienne had actually discussed. Lucienne was kind of pitching him an idea of just giving the key to Azazel because it is his home, but Dream's hesitant to do that because he knows that Azazel has other motives. He's not just going to stay in hell, he'll look to expand. But he realizes that Lucienne is right. They need a place. However, they're not getting it. In fact, nobody that came for the key is getting the key. And Dream does a really good job of giving his reasons why, but eventually he decides to give the key to its creator. He looks up at Remiel and Duma and he says, the key is yours. Everybody takes this pretty well except Azazel. He once again tries to intimidate Dream in his kingdom, but it doesn't work. He ends up shape-shifting into that venom-looking demon and basically challenging Dream to come get Nada. And Dream does. I mean, he goes in, he grabs her, he rips her from the depths of whatever Azazel is. But with Dream so close, it allows Azazel to attack, at least he thinks. Azazel's completely forgotten about the fact that he is in Dream's home. Dream makes the rules. So when Azazel goes to attack, he is completely foiled by Dream. And Dream actually traps Azazel in a glass bottle. So Nada is saved, and now it's put everybody on notice. Hey, if you don't like my decision, you're not going to like the outcome of letting me know it. Before everybody leaves, he does get an update from Lucienne on how Nada is doing. She's with the doctor, she sustained no injuries, but she's clearly traumatized. Lucienne is going to let Dream know as soon as Nada wakes up. But she implores him, go check on your other guests, please. And again, everybody seems to take the decision by Dream pretty well. Lord Killican tells him he understands. Shivering Jemmy tells him that she didn't even want hell in the first place. She just thought that because it was up for grabs, she didn't want anyone else to have it. And with Lady Merkin now in charge of all the demons, she wants to check on what Dream is planning to do with Lord Azazel, but he says nothing. Just going to let him sit there and think. And she really appreciates that because she knows that Lord Azazel would not be as kind to Dream if the roles were reversed. When Lord Odin steps up to say goodbye, he's interrupted because Loki is making a scene. He's tied up, he's gagged at the mouth, he can't understand what he's saying, but Lord Odin tells Dream, yeah, he doesn't want to return to the world or his wife for that matter. Thor then just carries him out. Then it comes for Nuala and Chlorokin to leave, and they thank Dream for his decision-making. But when Nuala says, we'll tell our king and queen that you said hello, that's when Chlorokin pulls her aside and tells her, hey, I thought you knew, but you're not coming back to Fairy. And no, she didn't know. Chlorokin, who seems to be embarrassed by the fact that his sister had no knowledge of this, goes to Dream and says, yeah, our queen is offering her as a gift to you. And it's going to look really bad if you reject the gift. It's going to look even worse for Nuala if she returns to Fairy. And Dream doesn't want to make Nuala stay if she doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want this quote-unquote gift. But Nuala makes it clear, I don't want to go back to Fairy. I don't want to go back to a queen that is just giving me away and a brother that is doing the same thing, treating me like a gift and a present. Nuala is pissed. And Chlorokin, who feels a little bad, tells her, hey, I'll come and visit. Because at the end of the day, it really wasn't his decision-making. He's just a messenger. Dream, however, gives one final message to Chlorokin before he returns to Fairy. Hey, tell your king and queen that it was Nuala who made a strong pitch to end the relationship between Hell and Fairy, where there will no longer be a price to be paid. The angels agreed to it. Once Chlorokin leaves, Dream asks her, can you remove the glamour that you wear, aka like the makeup and stuff that your queen makes you wear? And you end up seeing the real Nuala, accent and all. He tells Lucienne that Nuala will be staying with them and to get her situated and comfortable. With that taken care of, Dream realizes there's one person who didn't say goodbye to him. It's Susano. But Dream knows why Susano didn't say goodbye to him. It's because Susano is actually Loki. Loki switched bodies with Susano. That's why Susano was putting up such a fit about going back. Unbeknownst to Thor or Odin, they're dragging back the wrong person. Dream's annoyed. He doesn't want Susano to suffer because of what Loki did. So Loki begs him to just free them both. And Morpheus has the ability to do that. He can put a dream image in anybody's head and make them believe whatever he wants them to. Nobody would ever know except Morpheus and Loki, but he does tell Loki, if I do this, you'd be in my debt. At first, Loki is not interested in being in anyone's debt, but the alternative is Odin finds out. So Loki says, yeah, okay, fine. Just let me know when you need me. After everybody leaves, he goes and visits an old friend, the Morning Star. She's just chilling on a beach, enjoying retirement. And he showed up to tell her what he decided to do with the key to hell, which she's impressed with. She never thought about giving it back to God, and that's mainly because, her and God are on the outs. She does tell him, though, after having some reflection, that when she said she swore to destroy him, it was really just because she was angry at God, not because she was angry at Dream. When Morpheus leaves, it seems like the both are on good terms. When he returns to his kingdom, Lucienne lets him know that Nada is awake and she's ready to see them. This is the first time they're seeing each other in 10,000 years. And boy, is it awkward. I mean, Dream tries at first to apologize, but even that is so half-assed. And Nada is pissed. Through tears, she explains to Dream what she went through for those 10,000 years in hell, all because of his selfishness. And after hearing all this, Dream can't even look at her. But he does apologize, and he lets her know, I love you. But she tells him, yeah, I don't love you. They then discuss the future, and Nada wants to see the world. She wants to see the mortal world that she left behind, even though it's way different. Dream wants to go with. Nada says no. Dream says, okay, well, when you're done exploring the world, maybe you come back. And Nada still says no. Right before she leaves, she looks at him and says, look, I know that you think you love me, but you don't. I wonder if your kind is even capable of love. I mean, how could anyone who truly loved me do what you did to me? This is the same as the last time I refused you. I think you just want what you can't have. And then she just takes off and leaves. In episode 4, as you can imagine, our boy Dream is struggling after getting dumped by Nada. I mean, he is going through it. His kingdom is raining cats and dogs. It looks like he has been listening to nothing but My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, track 5, If You Know, You Know. Lucienne ends up coming out and asking him, hey, it seems like Nada left. What do you want me to do with the rooms that you prepared for her? And he just tells her, get rid of them. And do me a favor, make sure the staff doesn't even mention her name around me. But when Lucienne turns around to do that, he asks her, do you think I'm capable of love? Before Lucienne can even answer, though, Matthew shows up and lets him know that they have a problem. They have an intruder at the gate. The intruder, though, is Delirium. She's shown up uninvited. She's shown up to ask him a question, and it's pretty obvious right away that Morpheus wants nothing to do with this. He doesn't want to deal with visitors at the moment. But Delirium is different. She's fragile. And the last few times that she's called upon him, he hasn't answered, so she just showed up. Because of that, he invites her in and he wants to hear her out. She, however, can tell that he's in a bad mood, and he tells her, it's not you, I've just been going through a lot. I'm really sorry if I was mean. And the fact that he apologized means a lot to her. He then asks her, okay, so why did you come here? And she tells him she wants to go find their missing brother, Destruction. She's been going over scenarios in her head, and she knows that he left on his own accord, but that was so long ago, he might be in a situation where he's embarrassed to come back. She just wants to find out. She starts going over some other scenarios, like maybe he was kidnapped, just like Dream, or he's got amnesia, and finally Dream cuts her off and says, he abandoned us. He abandoned his realm. He abandoned his responsibilities. It was an act of profound selfishness, and it's something I'll never understand or forgive. Still, though, Delirium wants to know why he did those things, and she asks Dream, will you help me find him? Dream, however, says no. Our brother made his choice, and we have to respect that. And she says, Despair said the exact same thing. And the fact that she already asked Despair comes as a surprise to Dream. Delirium tells him that Despair said that she wanted help, and Despair also said that Dream wanted help. He then asks her, I'm going to assume you asked Desire? And she tells him that she actually thought of this idea in Desire's realm. Because of this, he wants to go have a word with Desire, so he calls upon them. And Desire is not surprised at all that Delirium showed up uninvited in Dream's kingdom. Nothing about Delirium's plan comes as a surprise to Desire, and Dream assumes it's because Desire put her up to it. He still blames Desire for everything that happened with Nada. But Desire says, no, actually, believe it or not, I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with this or Nada for that matter. Believe it or not, she showed up at my realm uninvited in a flood of tears saying that if we could just find our big brother, everything would be okay. And Dream actually says she's not wrong about that. If she feels like things are broken, it's because they are. And our brother broke them. Desire says, okay, good. I mean, you had me worried for a second that you were going to use this as an excuse to go look for Nada. And that's something that Dream hadn't even considered. But now that that seed is in his head, he's running with it. After saying goodbye to Desire, he goes back to Delirium, and he asks her, okay, well, if we were going to find our older brother, how exactly would you go about it? And she's thought this out a little bit. She's written down every single name that she could think of who was an associate of her brother that might be still alive. All of these people are in the waking world. And it's only 3 of them. She's got them written down on an envelope, so they really just have to find them. And Dream's willing to go, but he's really only willing to go because it is, in fact, an excuse to try to go find Nada. Of course, he doesn't tell his sister any of this. When they go to leave, even Lucienne asks him, why exactly are you doing this? And he comes up with an excuse about, well, I'm going to respect my brother's wishes about privacy, but my sister really needs it. And it's been a while since I've been in the waking world. But Lucienne sees right through it. She reminds him, oh, you know who else is in the waking world? Yeah, that woman that you were obsessed with. I mean, what are you exactly hoping happens? You just happen to run into her? I mean, why don't you just go find her in her dreams? But he says, no, that would be inappropriate. Perhaps fate will reunite us. And she gives sage advice when she tells him, yeah, that's not going to seem like fate to Nada. It's going to seem like stalking. Dream, however, doesn't think it's a big deal. And he and Delirium head out, and the first place they stop is New York City. In order to go on this little quest, they're going to need transportation. But as they're walking to the car rental place, Dream gets distracted. He sees a woman that he thinks looks like Nada. He runs up to her, but it turns out it's just a woman that looks like Nada. It's not Nada. They then head to Farrell's transportation. It's run by a guy that used to be a god named Lord Pharamon, but his resources were dwindling, and Dream told him, you might want to get a day job, and this is his day job. But they're not greeted by Farrell. They're greeted by a woman named Wanda who will be driving them around. And the first place they're going to head is the home of an old lawyer. But when they get there, the lawyer isn't there. It's his son. And his son is depressed. When Dream asks to see his dad, he lets Dream know, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we just got a word. Our dad passed away in a freak accident. Their dad was killed at a construction site when something fell on top of him. And for Dream, he doesn't think this is a coincidence. He feels like it's a sign they probably should stop the search. But for Delirium, she does feel like it's a coincidence, and she wants to go to the second person on her list, which is the dancing woman. Wanda tells him that the dancing woman's located in Philadelphia. I'm a little hurt because I live here, and they didn't even hit me up. We could have hung out. Before they actually go to the club where the dancing woman works, they stop off and have a drink. It's at the bar where Wanda, Dream, and Desire end up getting to know each other a little bit, and they learn a lot about Wanda. She, too, grew up with siblings, but she also grew up with very, very conservative parents. Conservative parents that didn't really know what to do with her, because Wanda is trans. So when Wanda started taking hormones, she eventually just had to leave the house. She left a note, but she hasn't seen her family in years. So she really does get the whole plight of having family, but never seeing them. And the fact is, she misses her family. They then finish up the drinks and they head on over to the strip club where the dancing woman is located. When they get there, she is on stage, but when she sees Dream, it throws off her routine completely. I mean, she heads to the back, and Dream goes after her. These two have a history. Her name is Ishtar, and she was the god of sex and war. These days, however, she's known as Chocolate Thunder, and she's on the main stage on Friday nights. Except, though, when Dream comes in. It's in the dressing room that she reminds Dream, oh, it's been a while. It's been like 2,000 years since I've seen you. I mean, the last time I saw you, I was seeing your brother, and you were telling him that I wasn't good enough for him, and then he followed that advice, and he dumped me. She then really cuts Dream to the core by telling him, your brother told me he felt sorry for you because he felt like you were never going to know love. And considering what Dream has gone through in the last day or two, that doesn't feel good. He then, though, gets to the reason why they showed up and says, have you seen our brother? She says, no, I haven't seen him in centuries. But he also came with a warning. Because he doesn't think what happened to that lawyer was a coincidence. He wants to warn Ishtar, hey, by the way, the people we're looking for, well, at least the one guy, he showed up dead. So you may be in danger. She stands up and asks, what did I do to make you hate me? I mean, to wish me dead. And he tries to tell her, I don't hate you and I don't want you dead, but that's not the way she sees it. She sees it as him showing up is essentially sentencing her to death. He reminds her, though, that they don't know that officially, but they both have a hunch that, it's not a coincidence. She then gets ready to go back on stage, only this time she's going to dance. She's really going to dance. She's going to dance like nobody's watching. And Morpheus, he wants to get his group and get the hell out of there before she hits the stage. So he rushes out, he finds Delirium, he finds Wanda, and he says, no, we got to go. She doesn't know where our brother is. But then Ishtar hits the stage, and all eyes are on her. Now, look, honestly, her moves didn't really do it for me, but it did it for every single person in that club. They cannot take their eyeballs off the stage. And it's only Dream that notices that the club is on fire. And what's worse is the fact that gas is leaking into the club. So he frantically tells both his sister and Wanda, run right now, but it's too late. The club explodes, and every mortal in there, including Wanda, dies. Dream stands up and tells his sister, we have to stop looking for our brother. But Delirium doesn't want to. There's only one person left on her envelope, but Dream is insistent. And that's when Desire shows up, because this strip club was a little part of his realm. And he's pissed, because now a little part of his realm is destroyed. And he's got two people to blame, and they're both related to him. Now, immediately, Dream pushes back on this and says, you can't blame us for this. But he says, oh, no, I absolutely can. because our brother warned us not to come looking for him. In fact, I warned you not to go looking for him, and look what you did. You went looking for him, people are ending up dead, and now a little part of my realm has been destroyed, all because of you. Delirium stands up for Dream and says, no, it wasn't him. He was trying to help me. But Desire says, no, he never planned on helping you. No, he was going after Nada. He was never looking for our brother. And Dream has to admit it. And this really, really hurts Delirium. She feels stupid in that moment. She feels like she was played. She felt like her brother actually had her back, but now she realizes, no, not at all. And she's pissed at both of them. She gets so upset that she tells them, I'm going to go back to my realm, but you two are not invited there. And she leaves. She leaves both Dream and Desire in the room together to hash it out. Even though he doesn't want to hear it, Desire gives Dream a lecture and then some. And at the end of it, he tells him, I am done with you. So, where is Destruction in all of this? Well, he's in the countryside with his dog, who talks. And he had an idea that his family was searching for him, because in his garage, he's got something called a scrying pool, which is a sort of warning. So he was on alert. In episode 5, when Morpheus returns to his kingdom, Lucienne asks him, did you find your brother? And he tells her, I have no desire to find my brother, but I do think that there are forces that were working against me. So if you can make some inquiries and find out who they were, because I'm really interested in that. She goes to leave, but before she does, he asks him, do you have anything you want to add? And she says, yeah, honestly, I liked your brother. I only met him a few times, but I respected him. And I think it would do you a world of good if you went and found him and asked him why exactly he left. But Morpheus knows why he left. It's because he cared too much, cared for humanity too much. A prime example of this is when they met in 1675, and this is just after Isaac Newton had some breakthrough that is way too intelligent for me to understand, but Destruction was worried about the path that man was headed. He wanted Dream to step in. He wanted to step in, but Dream didn't care. And Destruction was kind of disgusted by the fact that Dream didn't care. After telling the story, Morpheus asks if he loved humanity, why did he abandon him? And Lucienne tells him because he didn't want blood on his hands. While there's no shame in doing one's duties, there is if you destroy the ones that you love. And this seems to be an aha moment for Dream. He heads back to the waking world for Wanda's funeral. He contacted Wanda's aunt because he wanted something that Wanda was really fond of. It's a first edition book, The Marvelous Land of Oz. But the more he talks to the aunt, the more he gets upset because the aunt continues to call Wanda Alvin, which is the name that they were born with. Dream kind of lets that go when the aunt continues to say things like nephew and Alvin, but he gets super upset when he finds out that they put Wanda in a suit, dressing her like a man. And he asks her, why would you do that? And the aunt's response is, you got to remember, this is for them. This is for the family. They're grieving. So this kind of takes it away. And for Dream, he can't understand how the family, still, with Wanda dead, can't just accept her for who she was. When he goes to the gravestone, it's much of the same. It doesn't say Wanda, it says Alvin. And when he's joined by his sister Death, he asks her, I need a favor. I need you to bring Wanda back because she shouldn't be dead. This is my fault. Death, though, reminds him, I can't bring them back once they're gone. And then Dream walks over and fixes the gravestone to accurately portray Wanda's name. At this moment, Morpheus feels really guilty for what he did. He wants to make things right, but Death reminds him, you can't do that once they're gone. It's best to try to make things right with the people that are still here. And the person she's referring to is Delirium. She tells Dream to just go to Delirium's realm and show up and be a big brother for once. And then she opens that realm up and encourages him to go through it, which he eventually does. Once he does, Death ends up meeting up with Wanda. And as they sit and they talk about the family's decision to basically rewrite her to be a man, it seems like Wanda is in a good place and is comfortable with the fact that she is dead. As for Dream, he goes to Delirium's kingdom and he is on a subway train of debauchery. I mean, like eyes wide shut, 50 Shades of Grey stuff. We don't kink shame, but things are getting down. Eventually, he does end up finding his sister. It takes getting off that subway train where he finds her in a park next to a sundial, and he apologizes. He admits that if any of them had done to him what he did to her, he would never forgive them. And because of the fact that he made a promise to her to help her find their brother, he's going to fulfill that promise. The apology from Dream completely changes Delirium's entire mood. But Morpheus makes it clear, we are going to do this together. This is a family matter. We're not going to involve any other mortals. We're not going to harm any other people. And she wonders how exactly they're going to do that, because you already had Desire and Despair say they're not helping. And that really only leaves one other family member, and that is Destiny. Now, they don't expect Destiny to help, but as Dream puts it, sometimes the things that Destiny doesn't tell you actually says more than what he does tell you. So they head to Destiny's realm. And of course, because he's Destiny, he knew that they were coming and he was expecting this. At first, he says, no, yeah, I'll help you. Here's some help. Abandon this quest. Go back to your realms. Live your life. Respect his wishes. He doesn't want to be found. Upon hearing this, Delirium gets really upset. She walks away, and it allows Dream and Destiny to talk it out, where Dream explains his reasoning for continuing the quest and then asks, will you help us find him? Destiny tells Dream that it's safer for him not to ask that question, because if he answers it, a new path opens up in the garden, then he has to deal with it. He doesn't want to do that. But Morpheus once again says, will you tell us where to find him? And after some pondering, he says, if you wish to find our brother, you're going to need an oracle. Dream, however, knows that there's no oracle that talks about their family, but Destiny reminds him, no, there is an oracle in the family. You're forgetting them. And that's when it clicks with Dream. Yeah, there is an oracle. It's his son. For Dream, he feels like all of this, the fates, nada, destruction, they've all been leading to this moment, his son. And the reason why that's such a big deal is because he has not seen his son in over 3,700 years. His son, Orpheus, was married, albeit for about an hour, to the love of his life. And Dream attended the wedding, as did all the brothers and sisters. They were having a good time until Orpheus and his wife, Eurydice, went out to the fields, and Eurydice got bit by a snake and died. For Orpheus, he couldn't take this. He had a meltdown. He needed to get the love of his life back by any means necessary. And even though Dream told him, dude, you gotta move on, he wasn't willing to do that. Orpheus knew that his wife was still alive in the underworld. And he asked his dad, go to King Hades and Queen Persephone and plead my case to get my wife back. But Dream didn't want to do that because he knew that they would demand Orpheus's life for hers. And for Orpheus, he was willing to do that. But Dream wasn't willing to make that trade. Orpheus looked at his father and said, if I am your son, then you will do this for me. I mean, I've never asked you for anything. Will you do this for me? But Dream told him, no, I won't. And a very emotional Orpheus said, well, then if you're not going to do this for me, then I'm no longer your son. And he went to go find another way to Hades. He found it when he was about to unalive himself, and he was stopped by Destruction. Destruction told him, go talk to Death about it. I mean, she's your aunt. And that's exactly what Orpheus did. And this request by Orpheus to Death was very unconventional. And that's because people don't go to the underworld without dying first. Orpheus, though, continues to push. And Death tells him, okay, you can go to the underworld and you can even come back. But if you do, you can never die. And trust me, it may sound like a gift, but it's not. But that's all Orpheus needed to hear, is the fact that there was a chance that he could get his wife back. He even went so far as to look Death in the eye and tell her, yes, this is what I really want. So at that, Death obliged. She opens up the stairway to the underworld and he heads down. And when he finally does get an audience with the king and the queen after talking to the fates, he pleads that case. He assures them that he will do whatever it takes to get his wife back. And what he wants to do is prove to them that their love is real. So King Hades says, okay, yeah, you can do that. Here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a pathway out of this realm. You're going to follow it. And she will be right behind you. But you can never look back. You can't acknowledge her. Not until the sun hits both of you guys will you be able to be reunited. And a very excited Orpheus says, okay, great. And he starts to head down that path, and he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. But then he hears his wife call his name, and he has to turn around. And once he does, his wife is gone forever. A very dejected Orpheus finds himself on the beach without his wife and his mother by his side. His mother, Calliope, lets him know that she has left his father. It's been a long time coming. She thought she could change Dream, and she couldn't. And the final straw was the fact that Dream wasn't willing to go on their son's behalf. She then, however, lets him know that the cult of Dionysus, a.k.a. the Sisters of Frenzy, they're coming for him. And he really should leave that place, but he doesn't fear them. He feels like it's an old wives' tale, and he's not worried about it. And she lets him know, you really should be. And he tells his mom, well, then I want them to find me because I must be with my wife. Don't you see? The Sisters of the Frenzy, they're my only hope. Calliope doesn't want to let her son do this, but he says, you left my father because he wouldn't help me. And now you're doing the exact same thing. You're not helping me. So she lets her son go. And that night in the forest, he's attacked and he is beheaded by the Sisters of the Frenzy. And his head lands back on that beach. But because of the fact that he can't die, he's literally just a head that can't die. And it's his dad who finds him first. Dream tells his bodiless son that he visited certain priests on the island in their dreams to let them know that the head was there. They will show up and they will take care of it. But as far as Dream is concerned, this is the last time he will ever see his son. Because once his son had said what he said, aka, I am not your son, well, Dream took that really personal. So he's going to make Orpheus own that. And even though Orpheus, who is just ahead at this point, is begging for forgiveness and begging for help, Dream tells him, no, I'm not helping you out. And that is the last time that Dream has seen his son. He doesn't even have an update on what's going on with the son. So his Dream just sits in Destiny's garden, thinking and reliving those moments 3,700 years ago. His sister comes up to him and says, are you all right? Because she is concerned. He doesn't really answer, and she says, well, what did Destiny tell you? And he says, he told me what I must know to continue the journey. Destiny then walks over and reminds both of them that those that seek destruction usually find it. And then Dream says goodbye to Destiny, Destiny says goodbye to Dream and Delirium head out. And Delirium doesn't really know where they're going, and he says, we're going to find an oracle. We're going to find my son. And that was something that Delirium was not expecting at all. That wasn't on her bingo card. In episode 6, you find out that Dream never stopped caring about his son. His son's head was actually stolen at one point, and he entrusted Joanna Constantine to return it to the priests on that island in Greece. And she did. It was a little scary there for a second. The French Revolution was going on, but she was able to successfully return the head to Greece, and she actually formed a quasi-relationship with Orpheus. She didn't seem to care that he had nothing going on from quite literally the neck down. No, she was really into him. So much so that when it came time for her to call in a favor from Dream for doing this for him, she asked that she have more time with Orpheus on that island. And she was granted it, to the point where she actually died on that island. Her gravestone is still steps away from the temple where Orpheus's head is currently located. And as Dream and Delirium make their way towards that temple, you even see the gravestone. But shortly after arriving, they run into the priests that are currently guarding it, and Dream has to let them know, I'm Orpheus' dad, I'm here to have a chat with him. While it seems like Dream is super nervous to see how he'll be received by his son is just relieved to see him. And the first thing these two do is apologize to each other, saying how sorry they are for doing what they did. Orpheus for saying what he said, and Dream for abandoning his son and not showing up until this very moment. It's a big relief to Dream when Orpheus tells him, you never abandoned me. I mean, you had Joanna Constantine look out for me. You had these priests look out for me. You were always there for me. And even though Dream knows that he was a deadbeat dad, this can't be ignored, a deadbeat absentee father, it still makes him feel good. They then, though, get into the reason why Morpheus showed up, and Orpheus gives him the location of Destruction. Turns out Destruction is on an island that's a hop, skip, and a jump away from the one that Orpheus is on. I mean, you can literally see it from the temple that Orpheus is in. And it's a genius plan by Destruction. He chose a location he knew that Dream would never, ever go to. When they arrive on the island, the first thing that they encounter is Barnabas, Destruction's dog. And Delirium is obsessed with Barnabas. I mean, she just loves cute puppies. But then, not too far away, Dream gets his eyes on his brother, Destruction, who he hasn't seen in forever. Destruction sees Dream, and it's a very hard stare, as Paddington would say. But that hard stare goes away really quickly when Destruction sees his little sister, and he wraps his arms around her. He's thrilled to see her, and the feeling is very mutual from Delirium. Destruction invites both of them in to his villa to have a dinner, and at first, this thing goes down just as you would probably expect a family squabble. Destruction tries very hard to put the past behind them and act like everything is water under a bridge. He's very hospitable, but Dream, no, he wants to discuss what happened. He wants to discuss why Destruction left the realm, because Dream still can't wrap his head around it. He feels like not only Destruction did a disservice to his realm, but the family also. And it's just as Lucien said. Destruction explains, I left because I loved humanity too much. But to Dream, it doesn't seem like it's good enough. He continues to keep prodding and poking. And at one point, it looks like Destruction is going to absolutely lose it on Dream. But it's Barnabas who comes over, and you come to find out that Barnabas is really a therapy dog for Destruction, because his mere presence calms him down right away and gets him back in check. One of the things that Destruction says is, Dream, you've changed. Because Destruction explained how he knew that people were looking for him, how he set up mechanisms, if you will, to monitor the situation. Those mechanisms ended up costing people their life, and that pissed off Dream. And Destruction reminds him, dude, in the past, you would have said that these people are mortals and nothing more, and they would have died eventually. But now, looky, you're all upset about it. You have, in fact, changed. He then, though, has a one-on-one with Dream where Dream asks him, are you going to return with us? And Destruction says, no, I'm not. Dream says, what about your realm? And Destruction says, it's still there. I mean, people are still doing things and destroying things and all that. Just no one's running it. It's not my responsibility, and it's also not my fault. He then, though, tells him that he has to pack up. He can't stay at this location anymore now that they know where he is. He can't risk the rest of the family showing up and trying to guilt trip him to come back. He truly loved seeing them both and catching up, but he has to do this. He then tells him, all right, you can help me pack. And they go into the shed where that quasi-alarm system was located. And they see that he has his gallery set up. And he says, yeah, I guess it's a habit to hold on to it, but there's only one thing that I need to bring. And he grabs the Sword of Destruction. He can't risk that falling into the wrong hands. It's the only thing he's bringing with him. Delirium tries really hard to convince him to come to her realm, and one of the ways she does that is saying, if you leave, I'll be alone again. But Destruction says, that's not true. I mean, look, did you come here alone? No, you had Dream. She, however, explains that Dream has a lot going on, and he's got a lot of people under him. He's got his bird, he's got Lucien, he's got dragons. So Destruction says, let's fix that. And he goes and has a conversation with Barnabas and says, look, where I'm going, you can't go. It's just not safe for you. So do me a favor. Go with my sister and just look out for her. Be a friend to her. And Barnabas says, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So now at least Delirium has a Robin to her Batman. Destruction then says goodbye to Delirium, and he goes to say goodbye to Dream. And Destruction asks, what are you going to do now? And Dream explains, I've got unresolved matters with my son. And Destruction asks, what happened? I mean, why now? You've had thousands of years to resolve those issues. And Dream explains, we needed an oracle to find you. And the fact that Destruction knows how difficult that truly was for Dream to go and talk to his son in order to find him means a lot. The last thing that Destruction leaves his brother with is telling him, look, remember that I left. Remember why I left. Remember how hard it was that I left, but that I left out of love. Love for humankind and for all others. And I know you think I'm weak and I'm selfish, and maybe I am, but in my experience, love is the only reason to do anything. Doesn't really seem like Dream takes that advice to heart. He still seems really annoyed by his brother's decision, but it's not going to change. Destruction is leaving. Destruction then gives his brother and sister a hug, and he disappears into the sky, creating a beautiful, what looks like a meteor shower. Look, I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson, folks. I'm a YouTuber, and a mediocre one at that. We'll continue. Once he leaves, Dream says to his sister, I'm sorry we did this for nothing, but she says, no, it wasn't for nothing. I mean, now we don't have to wonder why he left, and I got a dog out of it. For Delirium, she's going to return to her realm, and for Dream, he has to return to the temple to spill family blood. Because in order to get the information about the whereabouts of his brother, he had to promise that he would do something for his son, and he knew his son would want to be killed. Even though this is strictly forbidden, Dream knew that he had to do this. At first, they just discuss the interaction with destruction. They then, though, get into the matter of why Dream actually showed up. They have a conversation about mortality, about dying, and then Dream does what he came there to do. He ends his son's life. With Orpheus's blood all over his hands, he leaves the temple, knowing full well that the fates will soon be after him. And when he returns to his realm, he's an emotional wreck. I mean, when he arrives, Lucienne can immediately tell he's not right, but he tries to put on a strong face and gives her his itinerary, just saying, don't bother me tonight, but tomorrow I'll resume my duties. Before retiring to his quarters, though, he does instruct her to take care of the priests that were taking care of Orpheus and to leave no mark that Orpheus was ever there. And then he goes to wash the blood off, but it's really emotional. But the fates are, in fact, coming. I mean, they're chilling in wherever they live, and they're just eating cookies, one of them being a fortune cookie. When they open it up, it's a very familiar message. It's the same message that they gave Destiny a little while ago. A king will forsake his kingdom. Life and death will clash and fray. The oldest battle begins once more, and they're all trying to figure out why exactly they're getting that again, because they just had it. But finally, the oldest one stands up and says, okay, look, enough about the fortune cookie. We got to handle what Dream did. He killed his oldest son. And one of them says, look, the son asked for it, but to the oldest one, it doesn't matter. It's still spilling family blood, and they have to take care of it. So they now get ready to handle it. And that is the end of part 1. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. Really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. Hit a thumbs down button if you liked this. Smash the thumbs down button if you thought this video sucked. And I will be back for part 2.